All right, Spurgey. One last guess. Do you think it's a girl or a boy?
A boy.
And do you have any name ideas?
No.
Henry, what's your last guess? Boy or girl?
A boy.
Already either a girl or a boy. You just don't know which one it is. But we can't change it. So whatever God gave us, we're going to be happy for, right?
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are having a great day. I am ready to go. It's July 20th, Tuesday. This one's a voiceover for you. Sorry I can't get pretty today, but I yesterday dropped a video and let you guys know that there was some hints that Jessa Duggar Welcomed might be in labor. And yesterday we got her first part of the birth story. It looks like she's going to be doing 3 parts here total. The first part of her birth story was her contracting at home. She was talking with the kids. In one part of the video, she was talking about what the gender of this child would be. And the boys wanted to have a baby boy. And Jessa had made a comment about how no matter what the sex was of the child, the boys would love the baby no matter what, because that's what God made the baby.
It's already either a girl or a boy. You just don't know which one it is. But we can't change it. So whatever God gave us, we're going to be happy for, right?
Yeah.
So that part of the video had made me think, oh God, she's having a girl. She's having a girl. She's having a girl. That's why she said that, because they have to love the baby no matter what. So once she said that, she still continued to do contractions, and she ends up going to the hospital on Sunday afternoon. Sunday happens to be the same day as Jim Bob Duggar's birthday, which would have been his 56th birthday. We noticed that Michelle Duggar had not posted to her husband on that day, and so some people were like, oh my gosh, is something going on in this marriage? Well, now we know that Jessa was in labor and Michelle was at the hospital. So at the end of the first part of the video, you get literally no understanding of where they're at. They're just walking into the elevator of the hospital about to check in. Part 2 was released this morning, and you know what I'm going to say about Jessa is, if you're going to have to take care of yourself as a family now, the way that she's doing this series is actually really smart, because she knows that people are, one, interested in the fact of her having a baby. Babies bring in really big views, and the fact that if she can spread it out into multiple videos and make more money out of this, the better. If she's going to have YouTube be a primary source of income, I find this to be really, really a good plan. Some people in my comments were a little bit annoyed with the clickbait of the first one. People felt really let down because they watched the whole video, and when they watched the video, they're like, okay, she had the baby. I still don't know what the baby's gender is. I don't know what the baby's name is. I know nothing. So they felt like she posted a video or posted a photo of the baby on her chest and then gave us no baby. So whether or not that's clickbait, I doubt it. It's part 1. So part 2 she released this morning, and that was where we meet the baby. Now, a few things I want to say about this part 2 is that, one, she's in the hospital for the very first time, and Michelle Duggar was in the hospital room for the labor and delivery. Jessa, for the very first time in 4 pregnancies, actually went ahead and had an epidural. So she had 1 epidural and it did not take, and so they had to do a second placement of the epidural, which finally worked, and she was able to get some relief. As the anesthesiologist was in there adjusting the levels of the epidural in terms of like the flow of the medication, even telling her about how she can have a little button to increase or to add pain relief to her, she then realizes that the baby's about to come. And then Miss Michelle says, oh yes, I can tell her water just broke. And so basically Jessa was able to tell that she needed to push, which is amazing. If you've ever had an epidural, some women will never even be able to feel what it feels like to have to push. I will say I did because my epidural did not take, so I could feel basically everything from my pelvis down, and it was so painful. But for those that have ones that stick, you really don't feel a whole lot until the baby goes over the pelvic line or the pelvic bone, and then it doesn't really cover that. So once the baby gets ready in position, you can start to feel a little bit of it. So she starts pushing, and Ben stays up at the top of her head because, according to Michelle, he doesn't like the gooey stuff, which I thought was hilarious. And Michelle stayed down at the end to watch the baby come out. Jessa, who was extremely calm and very she looked very serene from the medication, and you could tell that she was feeling good from the pain relief, which she even expressed that she was feeling better. She did a final push, and the baby comes out, and she starts bawling. Now, this is something that I thought was actually kind of sweet because we don't see Jessa have a lot of emotions. And to watch her cry visibly in happiness, and probably just happiness, exhaustion, excitement, that overwhelming part of motherhood where your baby is finally there, that was really tender to me. And I felt almost like, oh, sweet. I really wish we would see more emotional aspects from the Duggar girls, but I know that how they grew up, that's really not how they're taught. Watching her cry and meet her baby for the first time is a really sweet part of that video. So as they get the baby all cleaned up, the baby's got dark brown hair, and it's Jessa and Ben kind of say that the baby looks like how Henry looked when he was a baby. And eventually we learn whether the baby is a boy or a girl. When the baby comes out, they say it's a girl, which I kind of had a feeling it was going to be. And they said that Jessa and Ben knew and Michelle knew, but no one else knew. So it was like a surprise for everyone. So everyone in the room knew what they were having. So as they got ready to tell the kids, because the kids did not know what they were having, they took Ivy and they took Henry and Spurgeon, and they FaceTimed with them with Grandma Seawald. So they get the boys and they get the kids all up on the FaceTime, and you see Ben kind of span over, and they have a little bow over the baby's head. And they're like, you have a new, and they tell them, look at the head, look at the bow. And they kind of realize that it's a sister, and the boys kind of look annoyed at this point because I'm sure they wanted a baby brother. And then Ivy gets distracted by a bug, which is totally cute because she's 2. And then they give us the name, and it's Fern Eliana.
You can tell.
All right, the baby's name is Fern Eliana.
And so Ivy and Fern, they have a little garden. So Ivy blows a kiss to Fern, and in the next episode, we will see the kids meeting baby Fern for the very first time. So what are the details about baby Fern? Let me tell you. She was born at 8 pounds, 5 ounces, and she is 21 inches long. She is the 4th baby, and she has dark brown hair. Now, Jessa Duggar looks really like she's doing really good. They didn't mention whether or not she had any complications. We don't know. She looked to be doing fine. I'm guessing that because she had an epidural and because she was in the hospital, they would be able to control if she were to have any postnatal hemorrhaging by automatically giving her Pitocin to shrink her uterus immediately to stop any sort of bleeding. After the delivery, she was still in the bed, and she had a blood pressure cuff on. She had an IV hooked up. So I hope she didn't have any complications, but the good news is that if she did, she was in the hospital. And it looks like, for all intents and purposes, and the way it looked is that the delivery was very smooth. Michelle got to cut the cord. Michelle got to share a picture of her with the baby girl. And the kids, well, Ivy was excited, the boys not so much. So in the next episode, Jessa promises us that the kids will meet the baby. And I was thinking, when I shared this information on my Instagram, some of you guys had a little bit of thoughts about the name, and I think the name is adorable. I know that she picks untraditional names. I mean, obviously she has Spurgeon and Ivy. Now Fern, I think Fern is a cute name, and it's actually a good play on word. It's a good play with Ivy, like Ivy and Fern. I know some of you guys were not loving the name, but I actually think it's so cute. So Jessa has 2 girls and 2 boys now, and they are still in that tiny, tiny, tiny house. So what do you think about the way that she delivered this process? Are you impressed with her dragging this out? Did you find it to be a little bit disappointing with the first video? And what do you think about the name? What did you think about the kids' reactions? What do you think about Ivy and Fern? Do you think Ivy is going to be a good big sister? Do you think the boys are going to be invested in the baby? So my older brother wanted a baby brother, and so I was not, obviously, a baby boy. So my parents brought him a viewfinder. So maybe Jessa and Ben can buy a gift from the baby and say that the baby brought the boys a gift, and that's for them to say welcome. Because when I was brought home from the hospital, my brother told my mom to just leave me on the front steps, but then she gave him the viewfinder and then he loved me. So kids are easily, they bribes work. They do. If they didn't work, we wouldn't have that in our back pocket as parents. All right. Do you have a funny story about your life growing up? Were you an unexpected gender? Was your sibling that's older than you, did they want you to be whatever you aren't? And how did your parents handle that disappointment by your sibling? If you have a funny story like that, please share that in the comments below. I absolutely love seeing them. And again, thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll be back later with more. Bye, guys.